2, 3. Downside. You're listening to The Downside.
The Downside.
With Gianmarco Soresi.
We met at JFL, and I went for a hug, and I felt in that moment I said I shouldn't have gone for the hug. That was too forward.
No, you should have gone for the hug.
Okay.
Here's the thing.
I immediately was like, Gianmarco, you fool.
No, that's the right thing. Here's the thing. I will hug you from here on out. It's the first one, usually the weird one for me.
Really?
I don't know why.
So I was right. I said something.
Because I usually don't mind going for a hug. It's just I'm apprehensive, and that makes other people feel weird. Because I don't mind hugging the first time.
Me neither.
See, you were the right amount of forward because that's the amount of forward I wanted to be. But I also love. If there is any awkwardness in the air, I don't correct it.
Good.
I don't. I think there's a lot of people in this world that think I think terrible things of them because I'm unwilling to change the awkwardness in a space.
Sure. I had a Greek voice teacher. She was a hugger. And I like hugging too. Yes. I think as a tall man in a post-Me Too world, I feel more like hesitant to just... My voice teacher, she was like, I hug. And if you said no, she'd be like, I don't care. Yeah. And I remember just being like, okay, I guess... So I liked that about her.
Yes.
Which I know is not everyone's cup of tea. I'm a physical guy. But now I feel very cautious. And I probably, with men, go for the hug quicker.
I don't know what to say. I am still a hugger. But I do have apprehension with meeting new people. Even though I think I'm of the age where talking online doesn't equal as much as there's less value to me as in like I have to know you in person before I can quantify you.
Sure.
As something that can have we passed a certain threshold? I'm still one of those people. If you didn't say anything, I would have said nothing.
Great. Good.
If you were like, we never met, I would be like, you know what? That's fair.
Well, this is The Downside. Mm-hmm. Welcome for those new-time listeners. I'd be surprised, but maybe. Here we talk about negatives. We celebrate the downsides. We complain. We kvetch. We don't give a shit. If you're a fan, check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/downside. I am here at Third Wheel Podcast Studio, a podcast studio that has had so many locations, you cannot put it into Google Maps without checking it at least 3 times. But I'm very happy you made it. Thank you for being here, Salman.
Look, it gave me an adventure. Also, much closer to my house. This place.
Yes,
The
place the new location.
But you know what? I got to discover parts of this city that I've already seen.
Good. Well, we're here with comedian, writer, Solomon Georgio.
Yes.
I have to share, before we talk about you, I've taken a lot of Ubers here. I can't drive.
Yeah.
I have a license. Don't know how.
Look, I know. In New
Humiliating.
York, I've heard it.
But it's not because of that.
It's not because of
People think that, and I let them think that.
Oh.
But it's because I suck. I had girlfriends in high school who drove. I got my license. I knew how to drive to school and back. That was it.
Yeah, you should lead with a lie. You should have just said New York. I have so much respect for you that just is dwindling further.
With 2 high school girlfriends, one who I loved, she broke up with me, and then I needed her to give me a ride back home. and the second wisely did it on the way to my dad's house. And I remember getting to the stop sign right before, and she said, we need to talk right at the stop sign.
Ooh.
And it was very beautiful metaphors in general of it's about to stop.
See, I think the correct thing to do is to make you walk home. I think that's...
Short, DC to Potomac, that would be a long walk.
Oh, that's wow.
I would have cried the whole way.
I would have made you do it. If that was me, I'm a monster.
But I took an Uber, and I don't complain about this stuff normally.
Yeah.
The smell of this Uber, and it was a 50. I was going to Kevin Hart's, it was Earthquake has a show on Sirius XM. By the way, more nervous to do this show than I have been for anything. It's me, Earthquake, 4 other of his friends.
Yeah.
And they had vodka there. And I'm not a drinker, but I was like, give me this vodka.
I would have done that.
For the first 10 minutes, you've done groups, shows.
Yes.
For the first 10 minutes, I didn't say a word. And there's this thought of am I going to be here silent the whole 2 hours? And he made clear at the beginning, he said, people, if you don't like our guest, call in and tell us not to have him back. They made a lot of jokes about it. And then finally they made some reference "Oh, white guy, what's your opinion on this?" And I was like, "I'm in. I now have a character. I'm the white guy here, and I'll play it up." And it worked.
It worked out?
I think so. He said,
sure?
"We'll have you back."
I'll listen.
We'll see.
We'll listen.
We'll see.
I've heard a few I've had you backs in my life.
So this Uber, I mean, it was a 50-minute Uber there. I have never, if I wasn't worried about being there in time, I think I would have gotten out. I don't know how I would have, but it was unbearable.
Was it like smell like cologne?
BO.
Oh, BO.
BO that had, and I was just shocked that I guess you don't know when you're in it, but he must have been driving for 72 hours. This was the BO.
Probably, yeah.
And what are you doing? Would you have said something?
About his BO? No, I'd have gotten out of the car.
You'd have gotten out.
I, as somebody who's been terminally late to many things, and will continue to be so no matter, like, whether or not it's intentional or unintentional, I will always choose.
Even knowing that you might have to deal with Uber getting the money back, because we're talking, it was a $45 ride.
Yeah, I'll look. Everyone would be disappointed, including me. But yeah, I've learned that if it makes me uncomfortable for an unbearable amount of time, I no longer allow myself to do it. But I am 40 years old.
Sure, I'm
So that
34,
is- yeah.
so I think I'll get there eventually.
I think if I was 34 years Solomon, he would have stayed the whole time. He would also have been like, if I got him on the way back, I'd be like, I guess this is the way it is.
Well, hopefully 40-year-old me knows how to drive or can afford a driver.
I hope you just, knowing it, I didn't own a car until like 4 years ago. I didn't drive a car for 16 years.
What age did you learn how to drive?
I learned to drive when I was young.
Really?
I had so many cars get, like, it was just, driving was such a terrible experience when I was younger. And now I have enough rage to maintain the ability.
Do you get, I know I'd have road rage.
Oh yeah. I don't do anything. I definitely one of the person that, like, I will lay on the horn for so long until you understand that you wronged me, and then I'll let it go.
Are you ready to fight if it happens?
At any point in time, I'm ready to fight.
Really?
No, for no good reason. I don't need to fight these people. It's just LA is filled with such absurdly bad decisions, and I'm a very defensive driver, so I'm very, like, my driving is all reactionary because I'm afraid of every driver here. So I only honk my horn because somebody is making the dumbest mistake of their life.
Sure.
And it's usually like, oh, you want to turn right, but you're all the way on the other side. You're on the left lane. So now you have to. And there's like the last person I laid the horn on. I was like in the middle trying to turn left. This guy all the way on the left side needs to go on the far right lane to turn right, and he decides, I'll just get right in front of you and prevent you from turning left in front of this green light until I get a chance to move a little forward. I'm like, oh, so fuck me.
Sure. Most of our listeners in New York, they don't understand anything that you just said, but I followed from my Uber ride today.
People are so disrespectful here. I know who said it. It was a fucking great joke, but it was like, everybody here drives like they just lost the part, and I feel terrible because I've been saying this on repeat multiple times. I don't remember who initially said it, but
that's great.
It's exactly.
If I did stand up, like if I'd come up in LA, I think I'd like have. I already have too many actor jokes, but like if I was in LA, I could see just so many, because just to be in a place where everyone would understand my references. Oh. It would, like I did a show. I did Chocolate Sunday last night at Laugh Factory, and it was like, a heavily black audience, and like I was talking about Harlem, and it was just amazing. Certain nuances of things that just wouldn't play any other place unless I was in Harlem or like doing a show where the majority of the audience was black. And it was like, for me, it would be like that in LA, majority of actor audiences.
Oh, they don't laugh. They're the worst kind of audience.
That's what I feel.
It is. A lot of actors, when they come to the audience, usually are there because they have the idea that maybe this is the way for them to get better at acting is through stand-up comedy. And I'm going to tell you right now, stand-up comedy doesn't make you better at anything else but stand-up comedy. Like if you don't have those skill sets beforehand, they don't get sharper because you focus way more on stand-up comedy than you do on anything else.
Of course.
So if your goal is to get better at something through stand-up, don't. You only get better at stand-up through stand-up.
I agree. I talk a lot of shit about LA stand-up comedy. I made a joke.
Yeah.
Caleb Huron came to. He was in New York. He was at Stand Up New York, and he asked me where the green room was.
Yeah.
And I laughed, and I said the first time an LA comics ever made me laugh was him asking that. But he's a Chicago comic deep down. Yeah. Did you start stand up here?
No, good God, no. I started in Seattle.
Oh, in Seattle. Great scene.
Yeah, they was sort of like the birth of the alt scene was happening at the time in Seattle. I started in like 2007, last year of George Bush. Great time to be a gay black comic. Highly recommend it if you get a chance. But no, it was a fucking amazing scene, and there's plenty of stage time because it was like where everyone's like sort of figuring out how to do like the different spaces. I weren't comedy clubs.
Sure.
But I still had to. I still went to the comedy club twice a week for the open mic, and I did.
What was the club there?
It's the Seattle Comedy Underground, and we also had two competitions There was a Seattle National Comedy Competition, the San Francisco Comedy Competitions, where everyone fucking went through that fucking process of performing in the worst fucking places in the world possible to possibly be a finalist and barely make any money.
Do you look at that as a healthier stand-up time? I started like really just in 2016, and I started in New York at a shitty club. I didn't come up in any scene other than New York, which is like, it's not the same as a smaller scene.
It's like it's all relative. It's really like it depends on the kind of comic you want to be, because you can move to any of the cities and gain the skill set you can from that city over time. So it depends on the kind of comedy you want to do. So for me, Seattle was a great comedy audience because I was very much a storyteller. Had certain like absurd and a lot of social commentary. So it was a perfect scene for me to start in because my audience was there for that.
Sure.
But also like I didn't want to be disrespected as a comedian at the time because you definitely had to do the road shows and do those gigs and eat shit for 45 minutes.
Yeah, that's the best. That's where you grow.
Yeah.
I did, but I was just thinking about LA audiences. I did the Little Room. I headlined the Little Room at the Hollywood Improv. First show was tough. Mm-hmm. The dark jokes just was silent.
Yeah.
And then the second show, Adam Sandler bumped my feature, and so I think it got them going a little bit. But I talked to Adam where I think Adam was very sweet, but he talked to me as if I were like a newbie comic, as if I was like going to just be bowled over. So I was like, hi. I was like, hi, Adam. My name's Gianmarco. This is my show. And he was like, wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. And then I stupidly was like, my mom's here or something. Because I was talking about just like, my mom moved here, so that's why I'm doing this show. I got these people here. And he was like, that's really great. Your mom came out. And I was like, I'm 34. Please stop talking to me like this.
Well, if somebody told me my mom's here and at their show, I'd also be like, okay, kid.
The first thing he did, he went on stage. I don't really give a shit anymore, but I remember the old days when I had like my first headlining show, I tell the host like, please don't reveal that my mom's here because I say horrible things about her, just horrible, mean one-liners. And the host accidentally heard off, for the green room, like, oh, what do you do for work? And she was like, I'm a Pilates teacher. And I was like, fuck, that's my mom. But my mom knew. My mom knew not to say it. But Adam goes up and goes like, hell, thanks for letting me do this. I know the headliner is a big show for him. His mom's here tonight. And I was like, God damn it, Adam, what is this? You could see it wasn't that dark. I'm an old man.
You do look young for older people.
Yes. Wow, that was a compliment, and then it became, you look young for older people. Sure.
Well, yeah,
you look young for older people
you don't look
too.
34, right? Like, so yeah, I would have given you your 20s if I was.
Thank you.
Yeah,
that's why I keep telling my agent.
Yeah.
I recently had an interview. Have you ever had interviews where I'm trying to avoid this, where they listen to your stand-up comedy and their questions are pipelined from the stand-up? Like I had someone like, if I were to do it to you, I'd say, your grandfather's name was Mustafa Rigatoni.
Yeah.
And like that would be the question. You'd have to be like, no, that was a joke.
Oh yeah, and it's also like, especially as the bits get older, you're just like, first of all, you have to remember that you said that as a joke. So that's what I've had interview questions where somebody like references a joke, usually from like 2015, and I'm like, oh. why would you ask me that question? I'm like, that's the thing I said out loud because it's like a joke that I don't know. Like most of the time, like, I don't do that joke anymore. It's been televised.
I also I fuse my father and stepfather into one character because I can't break down the whole thing every time. And I don't know how to balance it because people ask, and it's so lame to just be like, oh, that wasn't true.
Yeah, I tend to. It's been a while since I've allowed anybody to interview me in that capacity.
Sure.
Like a lot of things. Like usually, what I do now is like podcasts, and everybody tends to know each other. So I don't know. Yeah,
that's the better way.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember my last interview, and it's been like it was when I was doing JFL was when I was getting those kind of questions where they kept bringing up my bits, and I'm just like, I hate this.
Yeah, yeah. So you moved to America from where?
My family's Ethiopian, but I was born in Sudan, and we came to the States in like 1985.
Okay, so how old were you then?
I was 4.
You're 4.
Yeah.
Do you remember the Sudan?
Not really, not particularly. It's just very. My strongest memory is coming to America, and them giving me strawberry yogurt, and it was the first time I ever had like flavored yogurt.
What was it when the Sudan? It was
plain? Like just in general. My mom would just give us plain yogurt. So when I had strawberry yogurt for the first time, being 4 years old, and just being like, "This is the greatest thing I've ever had," and I'm very excited for the source of this.
That's good.
So yeah, that was but eventually we learned more about America, and it turned out not to be as great. Strawberry yogurt is not as plentiful.
It's too sweet for me.
It's also too much sugar. There's
too much sugar.
An absurd amount of sugar in strawberry yogurt's too sweet for you.
Once I cut sugar out of coffee, everything became too sweet for me. Thank God.
I would never cut sugar out of coffee.
Oh, it changed everything. Like just the bar. Maybe getting older, I like a little more bitter. I'm not at black coffee yet. I keep trying.
I can't. I have to put. I do sugar-free vanilla syrup, so there's no sugar in it, but it's still sweet. But I cannot sacrifice the concept of a sweet thing.
When I was a kid, I had Quick. Did you have Quick before Nesquik? Quick.
Nesquik was just Quick.
Yeah, until it was bought by Nestle. I think Quick was its own thing, and then Nestle bought it, and it became Nesquik.
Nesquik, yeah.
But Quick, that was my strawberry yogurt.
Strawberry Quick. That was
strawberry Quick. That had to have been a deadly amount of sugar.
I couldn't imagine drinking strawberry milk at all. Like strawberry and chocolate milk were such a staple of my childhood. I do not ever want either of those things in my belly ever again.
Were you drinking it out of the carton or the powder?
The little the powder. We had the powder, and we also at school we had the cartons. But yeah, I would drink strawberry milk regularly on such a daily basis.
I would give it a shot now.
I don't think
as like a dessert, a little aperitif. Is that the word for it?
I don't really. Derry and me, our relationship has it's very vengeful. It really tries to take me out.
Lactose intolerant?
It's like I can handle it. It's not like it's not as urgent as most lactose intolerant people are. I'm not like shitting forever and a half. But it is gassy, and it's the worst version of me.
Yes,
is what it does.
You've talked about your hemorrhoids.
Oh, happily, many times. I've actually had internal hemorrhoid surgery. I've had them removed. Worst.
Okay, so let me just understand what hemorrhoids are. They are. I know they're on. Let me see if I can define it. If I was pretending to teach a class, hemorrhoids are growths on your anus.
Close. Well, hemorrhoid. So we all have hemorrhoidal tissue, which is that sensitive like tissue leading up to your like around your butt and into your. So that's a hemorrhoidal tissue, and it's the polyps that grow there. That's what we consider hemorrhoids. But yeah, it's hereditary from my part because I've had them since I was like 9 years old.
9.
But they can be caused from like strain, stress, dehydration.
What is in the polyp? Is it just a swelling?
It's a swelling. It's a swelling and an irritation. And they can be external, so they can be around the hole.
Is that a size?
Yes.
How big is a hemorrhoid?
They can vary. They can vary. They can.
But are they usually average hemorrhoid?
Average hemorrhoid, like
a dime?
When external, I'd say like a dime, like maybe smaller than that. I had internal ones which were vast and huge, and they had to be removed, and they had to staple them to get them removed.
Now, so you said this was hereditary?
Yes.
Mom or dad?
My father, and he didn't tell nobody.
Let me tell you, I wouldn't either. All I knew is I think when I was a kid, the extent of my parents telling me about this was like, probably when I had like a Game Boy and I would just sit on the toilet playing. They'd be like, you can't just sit there because the air would dry and create hemorrhoids. That's my only understanding of it. And every once in a while, I'll be take a shit, and I'm like, I should get up from this.
You shouldn't strain that hard. You shouldn't push that hard. As a matter of fact, if you sit there for a long time, you should really consider like stool softener. Anything to make the process about under 5 minutes is best for you.
Mm-hmm. What about this? Do you do the squatty potty?
Oh, I have the squatty potty. I have bidet. I have my wipes ready to go. Like everything.
Bidet separate from the toilet or built in?
Separate. I got one of the little Mr. Tushy thingies.
Ooh, that's nice.
And it's. I have done everything possible. Like I take my fiber, I take my stool softeners, because it was truly miserable. Because it was because I remember because I got them removed. It's a surgery that I had to get done, and they didn't tell me. They should have told me I should have been on a liquid diet, but they didn't. So I was eating solid food with a butt that was sealed shut, and on opiates, which is also opiates give you constipation.
Wait, your butt was sealed shut?
Well, that wasn't sealed shut. It was just like it had like the surgery occurred, so everything was swollen and just needed to heal.
Yeah.
And I should have been on a liquid diet, but I was eating solid foods, and so my body's like, I have a solid poop that I want to take, and a tiny, 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 tiny hole that won't let it come out.
Were you just on the toilet screaming? Did you go to the...
just 2 weeks of screaming.
Oh.
Then it was actually the whole week of the election of 2020. I literally 2 days before the election, I got the surgery, and then after the 2 weeks, the day I finally pooped was the day that the election was called for Joe Biden. And I was at a friend's house, and they were throwing a party, and I pooped in her toilet for the first time in 2 weeks.
And was that the screaming was done at that point? That's when the screaming...
Oh, it was the most relief I've ever felt in my entire life. And it just happened to be that same day.
Now, that kind of surgery, did you have to go on your stomach when they knocked you out?
Oh, I think it was like laying on my side. I don't know.
I've only had one major surgery, and the second one it was so terrifying,
mm-hmm.
and now I know what to expect. I think it will be worse.
Yeah, well, I think I'm gonna be fine now, and I also now know that if you do opiates gives you constipation. I think every surgery people should warn you, just go on a liquid diet for 3 days, stick to yogurt, stick to applesauce and Jello, and try not and soups and broths, and then until I'd wait a week to eat solid foods so you can be nice to anything because constipation is the worst. I hate it so much. And
yeah, I don't think I've had. When I was a kid, I had constipation at one point. I had a friend. It was a cool kid at school. I went to his house, and for some reason I had to take a shit. This is like second grade.
Yeah.
Went to the bathroom. Nothing was coming out, and I wasn't familiar with what that meant. So I just stayed on the toilet
you're straining
for 2 hours, and to the point where my friend, his name was William, not my friend, I wanted him to be my friend, was like sitting outside the door, and we were talking, and then the mom's like, do you want to go home, or do you want to come out, and we'll try again later? And I was like, I need to get picked up, and I never hung out with that kid again.
Yeah, my brother just moved in with me at the time because he went back to school, and he came to stay with me, and this first 2 weeks of living in LA is just me screaming bloody murder. Just my butt in the air, being like, and he's like, can I help you? I'm like, there's nothing you can do.
And you're all, do you have to worry about them coming back? I mean, was this?
No, yeah, they'll easily come back. They can come back, they come back worse. So the whole point of it is to make sure to take care of myself and be less stressed and not sit in the toilet too long.
When people tell me be less stressed, I go, what's the second option then? Because the idea of not being stressed, to me, I'd have to change professions and change. There's no way. Are you a stressed person? No.
I was. And then now I'm at such a place where I'm like, I don't let anyone get to me in that way.
Really?
So there's nothing that truly upsets me. And anything that seems like it's probably my comedy probably took a hit for that, but I tend not to. I don't obsess over things as much as I used to, and I'm a calmer person.
I can't tell if I'm envious or I'm like,
it's not.
I can't be that.
I don't recommend it for anyone, because it's a lot of apathy.
Sure.
And it's a lot of disappointed people that want to see you have an emotion. But you know what? I'm okay with that. But I do feel emotions. I do process them. I'm much better at processing how I feel and not compartmentalizing them to later to the point that it makes me lose my mind.
Is this therapy, antidepressants,
thoughts? Everything.
Yeah.
I do it all.
You do it all.
I even do yoga, which is gross.
I love yoga.
I fucking do too. I hate how much I love it.
Do you do hot, outside, normal?
I just do videos online. I just do, and also I'm currently doing the yoga instructor that I have the Peloton app. She's now pregnant, so I'm doing pregnant yoga, and I'm enjoying that.
That sounds
at ease.
There must be a lot of positions just taken out of the running
right
away.
Yeah, she doesn't do as much in general, but I just like her voice so much.
Yeah.
And that's essentially why I will keep doing it until she gets. And then I'm postnatal yoga. I'm looking forward to that. What's that going to be? I want our bodies to recover together.
I took a class with my girlfriend. It was like a water aquatic class with like spin machines in a pool though, and like it was
bicycles in a pool.
Yeah, bicycles in a pool.
Wow.
And it was fun. And then I was like, I need to go work out still. It was for like if I had been hit by a car, this would be my first step back to walking.
Well, I do regular working out. So like yoga for me is sort of just like it's a form of relaxing than it is exercise. So I don't like doing any intense yoga. Like I don't like. I like gaining a little bit of flexibility, but I'm not going to try to do a handstand.
I like that. I want to get my handstand someday.
I don't want to be the bitch that fucking kills herself at 40 from learning how to do a handstand in my own home.
I got into breakdancing in high school, but it was before I had any athleticism or muscle. And I'd go to these classes and they'd be like, try to do, I forget what it was called, but it was like handstand, but you hang over. So your like legs are hanging. And I would try to do it in the backyard and I twisted my ankle immediately because I didn't have any muscles. I didn't know what I was trying to do. I couldn't do it now.
We're 6'4". We have so many, people talk about a center of gravity, and I don't think people seem to comprehend that the taller you are, the more centers of gravity you have. So it's not I think shorter people can pull off gymnastics much easier than us because they have one point of focus in their center of gravity. I fall in pieces. I don't fall in I fall in sections, and everything hits hard on the way down. So it's not, for me, it's just it's a lose-lose situation if I fall once.
Yeah. I feel my height. If I'm falling in a headstand, I feel my height. I go, I'm a big tree and I'm about to damage myself.
Yeah. And it can be irreparable damage too. I got thrown out my back from laying down too long. I can only imagine what it would be like if I fucked up a handstand.
I get scared about lower back pain all the time.
Yeah. That's why I started doing yoga. So I'm not going to try to do anything that's might cause it again.
But then my mom did yoga and she fucked up her hip and now she's like, don't ever do yoga. But she's a Pilates teacher, so she's also biased.
Which is it feels like it's like yoga, but it's not.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't know. People say like Pilates, you can have a whole workout in Pilates. And I'm like, it's still 80-year-olds taking this. I don't see any football player being like, Pilates, that's all I do. LeBron just doing Pilates and that's it.
See, for me, I just like being on a bicycle for a long time. Bicycle and treadmill, those are where I thrive. Anything that's like an endurance, I'm like, I can work out for an hour and a half if it's just me doing cardio.
My girlfriend and a friend want to do Tough Mudder, which is like obstacle courses. But it's fun. But I know that's how I break my leg. And all of a sudden, I'm the guy in the scooter with the knee in the scooter. And I've always said if that happens to me, I'm not staying in New York for that because I see the people trying to make New York work with that. And it's not a friendly place.
It is not you have to. Look, if a whole city could be ableist, it'd be called New York. It is.
It is.
I don't think anyone who's ever knew how to build a matching set of stairs has ever lived in New York. Every third stair has to be 2 to 3 inches taller than the others, just to let you know where you are.
Legally, I feel like all the subway stops are supposed to have wheelchair accessibility, but there's no way. Some of them, they must be under the tracks. Yes.
The amount of buildings that are just all walk-ups is insane.
So you moved. Where'd you move when you moved to America?
We first moved to St. Louis, Missouri, which is a garbage place.
I'll be headlining there next year. Excited.
I've headlined them multiple times. I've been back.
They have that fun place there, that
the
park
museum
that everyone gets hurt at.
Yeah.
What is it called?
It's a museum with a slide, right? You're talking about? Or
Yeah, there's slides and bars, and
yeah.
I mean, I got hurt there as an adult, but it's like an old school park, like the way kids
children.
used to be able to get hurt on monkey bars.
I know what you're talking about. I can't remember the name of it.
I did a joke, whatever it's called, like abortion had just been made illegal there, whatever. Yeah. And I think the joke, it was like, you can't get abortions, but if you want one, you can just take your kid to the pa-pa-pa. And everyone knew exactly what I meant.
Wow.
It's a cool park. It's like weird.
Yeah.
They have fishes and circus. I want to film a special there. So I like St. Louis.
Well, I will not be filming a special there. I will be sticking, I don't know where I want to film my special.
Me too. I'm trying to figure it out.
I probably would choose Seattle because it'd be such a hometown return. But I'm in no rush to film my next special. I'm taking my time with it. I'm very relaxed.
I'm stressed. I got to figure it out now.
Because I have the benefit of writing. So
yeah,
and it is. I have the benefit of a very lucrative career to support my dream of comedy.
Is stand-up comedy your first love?
Stand-up comedy will always be my main love because it is sort of how I've learned. Like, writing is something that I was doing the whole time, but comedic writing and writing for my voice is like, as much as I enjoy writing for television, it gets to the point where if I'm not on stage enough or performed in any way, shape, or form, I'm so unhappy, and that's when I do get stressed, is when I don't allow myself to go on stage and perform.
Yeah.
And if I don't have a joke, there's points in times where I haven't written a joke for myself for 3 months, and that's when I get pissed.
Sure.
That's the only time I ever get stressed and flustered. But
I think about it now because there's a couple more things happening these days post JFL, and every audition I look at now, I go like, I would have to cancel this weekend, or I couldn't perform for this long. And I used to think, after COVID happened, there was a degree of like, I had to not do stand-up for 4 months. So I understand that it's possible.
Yeah.
And I can still be okay, but it didn't change anything.
Oh, no. Like, doing those Zoom shows, I could have, that was pure hell. That was pure.
But I didn't.
Oh, I didn't.
Oh, I did.
I got to the point where I think I was like there was a 5 month, because there was that moment where you finish your set and you just.
That was the hardest part.
That was, but it's like, for me, it was like I felt like a talking head, and then luckily they were doing elements of it, but like I think the second we were able to do outdoor shows, I was like, that's where whatever I can do, whatever is allowed legally. But yeah, that was very hard. I need a reaction. I like, personally, at the end of the day, as much as like, as big as I want to get, as much as I want to do like a theater show and theater tour, doing a small, intimate space with an audience that's on board is always going to be the best.
Yeah.
It's always going to be for me, like an audience of 50 people is going to be the preferred show, because you can have an experience and you can test things out, and it feels like it's probably the most I've ever feel like I can work on my material and I can feel it developing, and I can also.
Yeah, I have a feeling where smaller spaces for me, I feel more prone to take a risk because I feel like I won't lose them. The bigger the space, the more I'm like, if I lose them for too long, that like a whole back chunk is going to vanish from me. Whereas if they're right here, they're going to stay.
Well, I'm present. I'm present the whole time. I will not go to the back of my mind to be like, I got to maintain this. I'm like, I'm going to be right here because I can see I'm maintaining it, and I can see you and I can interact with you. Like it's always going to be that fucking small like, especially it's a lot of the clubs in New York, like they are the smaller, like 50 to 80 people. Like this is a perfect space to do comedy and also feel comfortable and present to do comedy.
Yeah.
And that's the last time I'll ever compliment New York City, because otherwise it is a garbage town.
All right. So from St. Louis to where was after that?
Fresno, California.
Fresno, California.
It's not. It's a lateral move. It is.
That doesn't sound like you like a lot of places. To be fair,
Look. This is called the downside, and if you want to be honest with you,
please,
most places in this country suck.
Why Fresno? Is Fresno really bad?
Yeah, there was a community there. My parents had friends there, and that's why we ended up there. We managed to. We stayed there for 7 years, and it was, which is too long. And then we moved to Seattle, Washington, which surprisingly was my favorite place we lived because it's a dreary city, but it's.
Were there immigrant communities at all these places? Like,
yeah,
why?
There was always like people that my parents knew. I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
I didn't have any clout at the time. And
what were your parents doing for work?
Both of them. My mom usually we got government help through my mom, and my dad had some sort of like terrible like janitor job of some sort. Mm-hmm. And then eventually they both got off of federal programs and were working 2 terrible jobs each.
Why did they move to America originally?
Well, we were because we were refugees, so we came to the States in like the mid '80s, and like Ethiopians were like sort of like the African country of the decade. So it was very like there's a lot of programs to get us to come over. So that's essentially how we ended up in St. Louis was because of a program.
America was like into it.
Oh yeah,
that's nice.
Yeah, that's the first time there's like that there were so many commercials of Ethiopians just hanging out with flies in their face, and like we gotta save them, and that's essentially. Yeah, I think specifically with Ethiopia is a really old Christian nation. So a lot of these missionaries and programs in the States were like, this is integral. Like it was very important to them because it was like, oh, here's Christian history that we want to bring here, which I think is through Ethiopia.
Was the program it was funded by religious? Like, did you need to be a Christian?
But I think for the most part, yeah, most Ethiopians that came here were Christians. There's some Muslims, but. For the most part, it was Christians that were brought in, and yeah, we're one of the first 2 Christian nations. It's us and Armenia, and we have like
one of the first 2 Christian nations.
Yes,
really.
Yes, Ethiopia is very heavily involved in a lot of the Bible.
Is this tied to the Catholic Church, or is this
sort of? It's like we're Orthodox, so like we still like our religion is so old that we still have stuff from Judaism tied into it. Like I didn't eat pork until I was 18.
Really?
Yeah, because it's based off of the original writing. So like a lot of it was based off of the Torah. So
yeah, my girlfriend's very grew up very Jewish. I'm trying to get her to get to pork. I've gotten oysters. I've gotten shrimp. Neither are really sticking. Yeah. They're tough, but pork is the one where I'm like...
It's one of those things, it's such a big hangover because it's a giant sum of people that don't involve themselves. And honestly...
She said that she had books, like old McDonald books. The pig was crossed out.
Yeah. And it's a very, like... I personally would have never done it if I didn't work at Denny's and smelled bacon all the time.
So it smelled good to you?
Fucking bacon smells so good.
Maybe that's what I have to do. I'll just start cooking bacon all the time.
It is,
and maybe that smell will do it.
That it will affect that. It is bacon is the most enticing smell in the entire world. But we were allowed to eat one. My mom didn't know that pepperoni was pork.
Hilarious.
So we were like, because it doesn't look.
She's just eating pepperoni all the time.
Oh, like she made pizza for us.
When did she find out? What was the day?
I don't think she even knows till now. I'm not gonna be the person that is gonna be like, hey, lady.
So, do you remember you're at Denny's, you're smelling this whole day, and one day you're like, fuck it.
I think I remember I probably ordered something and they were like, we have a bunch of bacon left over, and I didn't say no because I was there with my friends at my table, and I was like, you know what? Let's give it a go. It was like 18. It was like 18, 19. It was like 1 a.m. and it was like the first time I ever had bacon, and my friends who have eaten bacon their whole lives have no idea that I'm just like losing my mind over in the corner. Like this, like just experiencing the best thing I ever had in my life.
So you were working at Denny's at 18?
I think it was like 19.
Were you working a lot of jobs in high school?
I was working a lot of, I was working like, but also I quit jobs very quickly because if they like, I've never been a fan of authority and I didn't trust any bosses. So eventually I'd just be like,
would you just walk out or would you make a scene?
I wouldn't really make a scene. I just no call, no show a lot because I also figured out that these jobs, like I figured out very early on that jobs don't call in for references. And I also found out that you can't give away too much information about your last employee without getting in trouble.
Really? Because of like
all
legal
they can
stuff?
do is say they worked before and the dates they worked. There's not unless you are asking them to give a reference, they're not allowed to give that much information away.
Really? You can't call and say, do you recommend them? You can't ask, do you recommend them?
If they're my reference, then they could do that. But they can't, if they're not my reference, they can't ask them to recommend me.
Would you be going to Denny's with a paper resume?
Yeah. No, I would I'd fill up the application and end of the day, if you're charming enough in person,
sure,
it doesn't matter what anyone, they will never, no one, especially jobs, restaurant and retail jobs, I say 1 out of every 10 of them that I had would do a check-in, and it would only just be, and all they would get is to confirm the dates of my employment.
What did you need that money for? What were you doing with it? Were you
money?
To go out with friends, or were you what were you spending it on?
Oh, money that was, God, at the time, I was just rent, food.
Rent? Were you living, when did you leave your parents'
I left
place?
at 18.
At 18?
Yeah.
And
I went back home a few times whenever I ran out of money, but I came out and I was like, I'm gay, you guys suck, and
together, both those things in one statement?
Yeah.
What age, how old were you when you came out?
18.
18?
Yeah.
Would you wait for that just because of that age?
Yeah, I would have probably done it younger if there was no legal obligations. But yeah,
you knew it wasn't gonna be like, you know what? That's
no.
okay.
I knew my parents. I was fully spiteful when I came out. I was very excited to do it, and I'd do it again. I think a lot of people usually are very patient and wait longer to come out. I truly, I feel bad for anyone who comes out later because it's a much more difficult. It's not more difficult. It's actually harder to come out younger. I don't know why I do that.
Sure, but it's certainly. How old were you when you were like, oh, I'm gay?
Oh, probably like 13, 14.
And you're just like, one day I'm going to tell these sons of bitches.
Dreaming of it every day. It was a fantasy of mine. Like, one day I'm gonna be so much more successful than all of you, and it's gonna be. And I did, and it's true, and I proved it. That's probably why I'm so calm. Is that all my dreams came true?
There you go. It's all just downhill from
there.
So were they not good parents? I mean, other than that, obviously that's a flaw.
They were good parents in the way that they took care of us and made sure we were alive.
That's really brushed past.
Yeah, look, they weren't the best in regards to being kind people, but
were they violent?
Of course, yeah.
You say, of course. I ever had
African parents. They're very Ethiopian parents, especially. Yeah, no, they're abusive, religious shitheads. But it's like it's hard to like. When it's your parents, you can't just like put them into one corner because it also kind of like. I'm the thing that I've been processing, especially as an adult, is like they did all the terrible things they did, and they also did all these amazing things they did as well. So they have to exist as both people to me, the positive and negative in my life, and I can choose to not forgive them for the negatives, but I also want them around because of what they've given to me positive.
So they're both still alive.
Yes.
So when you came out, they were mad.
Yeah.
They were not cool about it at all.
Not at all.
But you left that day.
Yeah.
And then when did you go back? How are they now? Are they chill?
They're fine. They're just old. And they they also need money from me. So it's a nice situation to be in.
Is it nice, or is it like, my dad helped me financially for a while. And I think there was like a key part of our relationship development that was skewed because he was behaving in a way that I found unacceptable. But I needed money from him, so I played along. And then the day I didn't need the money from it, I no longer want to spend time with you in this horrible behavior. So like, money can just cause so many problems, so many strings, even if you don't intend them to be there.
For me, I'm personally, I don't tie anything emotional to money that I give to my family. I try not to tie giving money to anyone to how I feel, if they owe me or if they're deserving of it. I feel like if I can take care of you and you're a person in my life that I love, I'll do it.
Do you give it on a repeating basis? Do you just give it
whenever
piecemeal?
My family is not greedy. They're very good at being like, this is what I need for this thing and this thing only. So no one's ever been like, no one's taken advantage of me, and also they also know that I'm not a person that can be taken advantage of.
Sure.
So it's never like, it's not like it's definitely a nice situation because they like they're gonna have to ask for my help eventually. And I also help will be like taking care of them as they get older and the things they need in that in that regard. So
I think I was watching, it was like a Joan Rivers documentary, and she started listing all the people that she kind of bankrolls. And you went, oh, that's why you work on such schlock sometimes, because you need a lot. I mean, she was 12 people under her watch or something.
Yeah, I've always, I think, mine is not 12, but I will always have, there's people I have to take care of. My immediate family is always going to be on the list of people that have to be taken care of.
How many siblings do you have?
I'm one of 7, but it's only 5 now.
Oh, one died?
2.
2?
Yeah.
Do you mind me asking how?
I killed him. No, I I took him out. They asked for too much money. No, my older brother, my older brother is, he passed away like 4 years ago from a stroke. And my sister passed away last year.
Jesus.
She did a lot of heroin in her life. But yeah, there's and my eldest brother, we never really had a relationship because he never came to America. And I didn't know he was my brother till I was 10.
Is he a half brother?
The 3 eldest are half. Only the 4 youngest were.
So your dad was married before?
My mom.
Your mom was married before?
Yeah, my mom gave birth to all the children.
I guess that was, in a way, sexist to me, I guess. I thought,
a lot of people assume when you hear that many kids, it's always the father, but no.
Yeah.
My mom is the...
and she got remarried. They got divorced?
Well, my parents were never married.
Still?
Yeah, they're not together now.
Oh, they're not even together now?
Yeah.
When did they separate?
I think when I was like 25.
Was that good? Did you go, oh, good?
Yeah, they never loved each other. That was...
They never loved each other? That's
No.
Why did they
My
get
brother
together?
was the first person to say I love you in the family when he was 17.
Isn't that an immigrant thing, though, too, with the
Yeah,
love
sure.
yous?
Yeah, I don't know.
He was the first to say, and everyone was silent, and they said, what does this
No,
mean?
he said it to me one day, and I was walking out, and I was just like, that's right. That's an emotion I do feel.
Let's go have some bacon.
I love you too. Yeah. I was eating bacon at the time. I should have offered him some.
So you and your brother, he's still alive, this brother?
Yes, he's the one that lives with me.
Oh, he lives with you?
Yes.
And what's the age difference?
We're only 2 years apart.
And what does he do?
Well, he started going back to school during the pandemic, so he moved in with me at that time because he was in Seattle.
Uh-huh.
And he was just working as assistant manager at TJ Maxx or whatever terrible retail store he was working at. And he was like, I'm going to go back to school for animation. I'm like, well, this is the city to move to.
That's what kind of, like, he's going back to a graduate degree?
No, he's just in an animation program in a school in Florida, and he's just doing the program. And I think he'll be graduating in the next 6 months or so.
That's really sweet.
Look, I had a spare bedroom, and I make him clean things up, so it's not like...
Sure.
Yeah, he's my brother. We're only 2 years apart, so it's really be a very weird thing to be like, you figure it out. I'm in the position where especially my 2 younger brothers, if they need to figure out and have life to the best version that they can, I want to make sure that I can do that.
But you become, I mean, are you in a way the figurehead of the family now? You're helping your parents, you're helping your brother?
Yeah, I'm in charge.
And you like that?
No. I love it. I'm kidding. That's an absolute lie. I love it.
Sure.
I love being in charge of everything.
I have that thought. I think all my siblings are younger, so there's room for them to financially. I got this point to a year. Maybe this is embarrassing that it was this late at 34, but like each sibling individually, we went out to dinner, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm going to buy this dinner for all of them.
I was 35 when I was able to do that, so...
Okay, good.
You're fine.
Good.
I was working in restaurants until I was 34.
But you were doing comedy. What age did you start comedy?
I started comedy when I was 25.
Cool. I started stand-up when I was 27. I was
Yeah.
acting before that.
Well, I was stand-up 25.
Stand-up at
Because
25.
I did improv before that.
Improv.
I even did spoken word before that.
Listen, spoken word can be great. I went to the Nuyorican Cafe when I was in college in New York, and it was so fucking cool.
Look, I can definitely believe that spoken word can be great. I can assure you that the ones that I went to and what I did was not great.
I think poetry, it's very hard to know what's good and
It's not that hard to know. A lot of it's not good. Some of it is very good.
Well, I think it's like, who's the woman that spoke at Biden's inauguration?
I'm going to feel so bad for forgetting this.
She's like young and just like...
She had I feel so bad because her name was all around, and now...
whatever her name is, she released a poem after Roe v. Wade got overturned on Twitter or something. Mm-hmm. And like, it was one of those where I read it and I'm like, this is bad, I think. But I can't tell. I don't trust my own judgment. I could look at E.E. Cummings and go like, what the fuck is this?
Here's the thing. Even the best can write terrible things. And that's fine. Like, Tennessee Williams is the reason why we have Cats.
Cats, the musical?
Yeah, I think it's based off of one of his...
That's the E.E. Cummings poem, I think.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we
go.
Whatever.
Sure. Tennessee Williams could have written. He wrote Cat on the Hot Tin Roof. I think that's where the two...
You know what? First of all, I'm not a smart person.
That's not true. You're a very smart person. Are you not, or do you just present as smart?
I can be both very smart and very stupid. And I speak eloquently. And I think that's what throws people off. Because sometimes I don't know things, and I'm very happy about that. But no, like, it's like a lot of like poetry for me is like, it really has to speak to you. And otherwise it's all relative. It can all be very much garbage and it can all be wonderful. Like, that's art is subjective. But poetry is, for the most part, you can be like, I don't like this. And then you can find stuff that hits well with you. Like, I think, yeah, it's tough to say. There's some poetry that I fucking love forever and I think is the greatest stuff in the world. But none of it is the stuff that I wrote when I was doing spoken word. Mm-hmm. What I did was bad.
I was at a wedding this past weekend and they read passages. Mm-hmm. And the whole wedding, it was a lovely wedding, blah, blah, blah. But like, if I were to have a meter, there's like sometimes I'm like corny, and there's sometimes I'm like, that's my jam. And they were doing passages, and one was like a poem, one was a passage from Winnie the Pooh. And like something about the Winnie the Pooh, I was like, that's it for me, because it was like Piglet saying something to Winnie, and Piglet was saying it. It wasn't the author saying it. It was a probably mentally challenged stuffed piglet saying it. And so I believed the feeling that the piglet was expressing. Now, a person expressing, like, it's something about like, if you live to be 100, I hope to live to be 100 minus a day. Yeah. And it's like a dumb piglet saying that. I'm like, beautiful. A human being, I'd be like, well, wouldn't you want 100 years minus a second? Well, I'd get all mathematical.
Here's the thing. It's like song lyrics. How many songs are stupid and still sound pretty? Yes. And it's like it depends on the singer. Like, it's always every poem probably can sound great if you're put in the right circumstance to hear it. But it has to be done a certain way. It has to be. So yeah, it's like improv. As well. Like, how much of improv is not that great?
I think sincerity. The biggest mistake, I think, you have to earn sincerity. Yes. People think you can just be sincere and just say it. And I'm like, you gotta earn it. I have to understand the circumstances. The word saying I love you can mean the world if you've built the circumstances correctly around the saying of it.
I think,
like your brother saying it to you for the first time in a family.
It's almost like, I wish there's a part of that when people do like speeches at weddings. I wish they understood that part. Like, we don't know you as the audience in this wedding. You're fresh to the mic, and you're telling us stories about people that we barely know. You gotta.
Well, that's the thing is, again, this was a lovely wedding. I'm not shitting on any wedding. It was beautiful. But I was a visitor. I knew the bride and groom somewhat, but you see people who knew them. Yeah. And so like they're captured. I could see one of my like old middle school friends getting married, and they could say like the cheesiest fucking vows, and I'm like, oh my God, my man's grown up. Jay Jordan. Yeah. I was at his wedding, and both their vows were spectacular. Yeah. Jay threaded the needle. I mean, it was like, it wasn't sappy. It had jokes, and at the end, it fucking hit with like this quote back to. I've seen this done at 2 weddings now. Someone quotes like something their mom used to say to them about love. One was Jay. I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. Was like, "I love you in circles," was the phrase, because circles never end. And the other one was, "I love you." When they were a kid, they told their mom, "I love you more than anyone in the world," but they couldn't say it, so they just said, "I love you in the world." And that was the phrase, like as a baby. So it's like I think that's a very powerful tool. You connect to something you said as a kid. Yeah. Again, you've created the character of the dumb piglet And you go, I believe what you're saying now.
Yeah, I personally, I think I'm never gonna let anybody see me get married, because I don't want that level of vulnerability to be seen.
Before the vows, Solomon has asked for everyone to leave, please, including the other groom and the priest. He's gonna say it alone.
Honestly, I'd prefer it.
Are you, when you're dating someone, do you wait a while to say I love you?
Oh, I'll wait forever. To the point that I've only dated one person. So
oh, yes?
Yes.
Did you say love you?
I said it first, and he waited 5 days to say it back. And I didn't count every single day at all.
I've had twice now I wait, I'm slow. And then she said, I love you with tears. Because I've waited so. This is, I guess, my relationship with women. I really push them right to the brink, and they go, "I love you," and then I go, "Okay, I love you too."
I think I waited like 4 months.
See, that's not very long to me. I was waiting a year, 2 years.
Jesus.
I'll wait
Jesus.
it out. I'll wait it out. It said
that is
too fast.
long.
How is that too long?
A year?
Yeah.
I say I love you to you right now as a friend.
To me,
how would you not? Your partner.
To me,
the person who sucked your dick.
Listen, I can't be handing out love that frequently.
Well, look, I'm just saying, if somebody's doing it regularly for several months, you have to say I love you faster.
I think
it's 6 months is too long.
My romantic side, in a way, cynical romantical side, is saying I love you is a vow. In and of itself, if I say I love you, and this is from a family of divorce and people who hated each other, I go, if I say I love you, that means even if we hate each other, I will still be there for you.
See, that's the thing, is that if I say I love you, I know that can be conditional, and it's fine if it's conditional.
See, but then I'd like
love
a word that means something more than conditional.
Yeah, it's called I want to marry you.
Ugh, marriage. Get out of here with the marriage. Do you feel tied to marriage, or based on your
I don't feel
upbringing?
tied. Like, I feel like when saying I love you, the initial I love you, the conditional love needs to be acknowledged. Mm-hmm. And then if there's a version of it, then you can show that through actions and who you are as a person, where you're like, I'm now committed more to you than ever. Like that. There's celebrations of love after love. Like you can still keep leveling up your love.
Because, sure, but we need words. I like to have words.
Because here's the thing,
because
everything is temporary. It's like you have to reassociate yourself with the word love and how you feel about a person as much as possible. Because there's no way it's not the vow to the word. The first time you say it is not as strong as it. I don't know. I think it should be said. I say 6 months of dating, because that's, for me, is plenty of time to say it, and if it doesn't work out, you can back away and you're fine.
All right, listen.
Look, if you want a
next
better
girlfriend, 6 months in, I'm going for it.
Look, I think now you're stuck, because you said it. You waited too long, and now you have to finish the job.
Sure. Oh God, I did seeing the vows. There is a thought. I don't know if I ever want to get married. But there was seeing those vows. I was like, I would write a killer set for these vows.
Here's the thing. I don't want to get married. I do want several divorces. I feel like that is a
just
life.
to be a divorcee.
Divorcee. I feel like I've already been giving out that vibe for like 20 plus years, and it feels rotten not to have the evidence.
If I ever get divorced, it's something I've always wanted to avoid from a family multiple divorced. I think like the thought of getting divorced is like, I would think, you fell for it. You fucking idiot. You knew and you fell for it. I had some friends in college that like they had divorced parents, and we would always, commiserate on that. And then they got married. And I remember like watching them get married, and I was like, I cannot believe it. And guess what? They all got fucking divorced.
Yeah. But here's the thing. I look at people's lives like a Jennifer Lopez or like Elizabeth Taylor. That's how I want to go. Multiple suitors.
Ultimately get back with the first one.
Yeah, just like Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton twice. Jennifer Lopez is doing the same thing that Elizabeth Taylor has done in a relationship.
It's fun for them, but for their kids, it's got to be like, oh, hey, Ben, hey again.
Oh, my kids are going to hate me for so many other reasons that my multiple marriages won't even bother them.
Let's go on to our segment. This has got to stop. Normally we have music. I don't in LA. So it goes like, this has got to stop.
Yeah.
Do you have a this has got to stop for us, Solomon?
I'm trying to find a this has got to stop.
It can be big or small. It can be, this. I'll do a brief one real quick. If I'm sitting down, if I'm sitting down for a lunch, and I'm sitting down with 2 or 3 people and only 2 of us are there, and there's a lot of tables, let me fucking sit. We don't need to wait for the whole party to get here.
Yeah.
Trust me. What kind of scam do you think I'm pulling? There's a lot of tables. It's fine. If anything, I'm going to order more food. Please let me sit. Please, enough with the game.
Also, you're gonna if you're gonna order, like, you're eating. You're gonna be there eating. What does it matter if the other people don't show up?
Exactly.
What does it matter? You already have you're already a customer.
If it's packed, if we're talking like there's not a seat to spare, sure.
It doesn't even matter if it's packed. It shouldn't matter. End of the day, first come, first serve. I am here. Give me my table.
I agree.
Like, you cannot, like, that is not, like, you can't fantasize it, because it's not an efficient way. It doesn't prove that people will show up, and it's just all you're doing is frustrating somebody who wants to sit down.
Especially if you're one of 2, because then you feel like a loser. They're like, well, let's see if your
one
friend's
of 2?
real.
One of
let's
2?
see if your friend is real before we let you have a
2.
seat.
God, if
you
you're
don't
like,
look like someone wants to join you for lunch, to be honest.
See, if it's like a party of 6, I get it. But if there's 2 people, sit that one person.
Sit
that
down,
one person.
please.
That person can, Jesus.
So that's my this has got to stop.
My this has got to stop. There's several right now, but for me personally is this is probably bigger. I'm not that big of a fan of hot people on TikTok just lip syncing jokes and thinking that they're comedians now, and that's got to stop.
Jay Jordan, my good friend, hates the lip syncing.
Honestly, I don't mind the lip syncing at all. It's just it's like when there's one video and there's 10 million copies of that video. It's like you're not doing something original. Why? I cannot fathom a world where I copy exactly verbatim what somebody else does comedically. That for me is plagiarizing, and I know that TikTok allows it, but it's not comedy. It's not your comedy. It's not your joke. It's not you. So you don't get the credit of being funny.
And you're wasting your life. I once tried to make a parody of like Sarah Cooper back in the day, where I was doing like a Nixon speech, and it takes a long time to get it down. And I thought, what am I doing with my life? Not creating anything new. My dad could lip sync. My grandma could lip sync. It's hack. It needs to go into the category of hack. If you have a twist, you want to do it once, sure.
Well, the thing is, like, if you're doing something completely different and wild with it, for example, I think, I'm trying to remember, the Pennies from Heaven, where there is one of my favorite movies, and they lip sync every song from the 1920s, and it's like there's like weird things to do that are absurdist and fun where you lip sync, but if you're not doing that and you're not a drag queen lip syncing a song and jumping off the fucking roof to do a jump split, or like fucking like that's like it has to be powerful within that moment, but you have to have other things to do. That's the thing, is like it's one thing if that's something you do here every once in a while, but if you have nothing else and this is all you're doing, why? Have another skill set. Bring something else to the table if you want to be in the world of comedy. If that's all you're providing, then it's not enough.
Work on those splits while you learn the words. Our final segment, you better count your blessing. I got this feels raunchy, but it's a real thing. Someone told me that someone years ago, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, that I'd hooked up with once, said to them, they said, he is incredible at oral sex. And then apparently in that conversation, they asked me, did I read how to do it in a book? And I said yes, which I don't remember that part, because I don't think I would ever admit that. And I don't think oral sex is that. I think, or is it less about skill? It's more about lack of self-worth. That's my personal opinion. So it was a compliment from an old hookup that it was one of those where, like, where they can't reveal certain documents until a certain amount of time has passed. It feels like one of those secrets. An amount of time passed, and a friend was like, oh, I meant to tell you, like 10 years ago, someone said this. And I was like, yes, hell yeah, I knew it. I knew I was okay at this. So that's my blessing. You got a blessing?
Oh, let me think of it. For me, I've been very fortunate of always doing better than my exes after we break up, and that's one thing that I definitely enjoy is the continued failure of some of the people that I've that I've dated in the past. But yeah, I think there was one guy who was particularly rotten, and he in my 20s, and he's doing terribly. So I love checking in on him. He's a little small blessing that I get to.
That's a nice blessing. I like that blessing. Now this episode, we're wrapping this up real quick, but this episode comes out October 11th. Mm-hmm. Is there anything you want to plug?
10/11. I have my own podcast. I guess people should always listen to that, and you should also be a guest on it as well.
I'd love to.
Called The Juice through Team Coco. That will be around. Otherwise, I'll just be online. Yeah,
just find you online. You're fantastic online. I will be at Comic Strip in Edmonton, Canada, October 20th through the 23rd. And then I will be in Comedy Arena. It is near Dallas, October 28th and October 29th. Find me online at Gianmarco Soresi. Find the Patreon, patreon.com/downside. And, I'd like to end it on something really sad. We talked about love. We talked about family. Just know that you may love someone forever, but you will not be forever. So it's a lie. Wow. This is the downside.
1, 2, 3. Downside.